I'm ranking every held item in Pokemon from worst to best, and we're picking up where we left off, getting into the elite meta items. In part 1 we covered the bulk of the lower to middle tier items, so check that out first for the full picture. I'm not going to waste any time, let's just resume the rankings, buds. Spot 35 belongs to a cool item, the Eject Pack. This activates and is consumed when one or more of the holder's stats are lowered. It will then swap the user out into a chosen ally. This can allow you to pivot when intimidated or experience something like a crunch defense drop, but its main competitive use is for getting a strong attack off and then getting out of there. There are strong moves that have the drawback of lowering your attacking stats or defenses. Draco Meteor, Overheat, Elise Storm, all great attacks, but not very spammable. With Eject Pack, you can fire off one of these and then swap out to reset them while gaining a preferred matchup. Let's get spot 34 out. Here is the red card. This item will activate when the holder is hit by an attack and survives. It will force the opponent to switch into a random ally. This is a great disruption item which can throw off your opponent's game plan by forcing them into a mon they were saving for later. It's also a great way to save your team from being swept. You can bait a move your red card holder resists against a boosted opponent and swap in, survive the hit, and force them out. All their setup will be gone and you live to fight another day without having to sack half your squad to do so. We're almost into the common meta items, so don't fall asleep, because then you might need the item in spot 33, the Chesto Berry. This berry awakens the holder from sleep and then it's consumed. It's a lot higher than the other status carrying berries due to sleep being the only status condition that can be self-proc from a move. This combines nicely with the status move Rest. Rest will heal all HP and any other status ailments and put the user to sleep for 2 turns. With a Chesto Berry, the sleep will be cured right after, essentially giving you a fresh Pokemon to work with. Chesto Berry allows bulky setup Pokemon without access to reliable recovery to actually heal and not be exploitable for the 2 guaranteed sleep turns. You don't have to burn another move slot on the unreliable sleep talk either. You can set up stat boosts while getting chipped down, resto Chesto back up, and attempt to sweep. Spot 32 is a Gen 8 edition with Throat Spray. This is one of my favorite newer items as it boosts the holder's special attack by 1 stage after using a sound move. It makes perfect sense since all sound-based attacks are special, meaning you have no shortage of potential users. With more sound-based moves being introduced, there has been more potential with this item. Skeledirge, Toxtricity, and Kommo all have signature sound-based moves they pair this item with. Other common strong stab attacks like Hyper Voice, Psychic Noise, and Bug Buzz activate it, allowing already strong special attackers like Primarina, Blood Moon Ursaluna, and Sylveon to gain a special attack buff without needing to use a turn boosting with a status move. The aspect of being able to proc it when you want is part of what makes it an effective item on these Pokemon. Nearing the top 30, in spot 31, I have the White Herb. This will activate when one or more of your stats are lowered. It will restore all lowered stats to 0 and then get consumed. It has multiple uses, but I would say its main one is for setup. It has been seen plenty on Shell Smash sweepers who raise their attacking stats and speed by 2 stages each in exchange for lowering their defenses by 1 stage each. After a smash, the White Herb is consumed and returns their defenses to normal. Unburdened Pokemon like Hawlucha and Sneasler also enjoy running this item as you can get off a powerful close combat, experience the defense lowering drawbacks for half a second before White Herb is consumed, restore the stats, and double your speed while also powering acrobatics if running that combo. Other than this, you can even use it instead of the Eject Pack for dropping Dracos and Leaf Storms and giving you a one-time restoration of your stats, allowing you to stay in without becoming setup fodder. Into the top 30, we'll kick it off with the Eject button. This activates when the holder is hit by an attack. They will immediately be swapped out into an ally of their choice. Essentially the Uno reverse situation of the red card. It acts as a pivoting device, which is great on regenerator mons and weather setters who may want to come in to scout, take an attack, set up their weather, and swap out into a favorable matchup to gain momentum. I feel this has been getting more popular recently, with momentum becoming more important. Terrain and weather setters want to stick around as long as possible, but also want to get in and provide team support. Maybe a controversial pick in spot 29, but here I have the Toxic Orb. The Toxic Orb will inflict the badly poisoned status condition on its holder at the end of the turn they are active. This item doesn't have many users, but the ones it does have love it. It's primarily carried by Gliscor, who combines it with its Poison Heal ability to recover 1/8 of its max HP at the end of each turn. This protects it from other status conditions while helping it become nearly unkillable in certain matchups. Other Pokemon like Breloom, Zangoose, and Flareon use this to activate their abilities, while also being a semi-popular item to trick onto others. Clefable, Klefki, and Bronzong, for example, can cripple opposing mons with it while not feeling the negative effects for themselves. Spot 28 goes to 18 items actually. It goes to all the berries that reduce damage taken from super effective attacks, and the Chillin' Berry of course. We'll just call them the resist berries. If hit by a super effective move of a certain type, you will take half the damage and consume this berry. I think the added utility of all these items deserve a ranking in the upper portion of the list. There are definitely ones more used than others, like the Shuka, Chople, Colbur, and Yachi Berry, but their utility to survive certain hits and take out their checks has proven useful over many generations. They do lose some points for falling out of favor, getting outclassed nowadays by some other great item additions, but they aren't uncommon to see in singles and doubles, and you can definitely surprise your opponents by surviving a hit that should have definitely KO'd and respond with KOing them instead. In spot 27, I have one of the top berries in the Lum Berry. This cures any status condition including confusion from the holder and then is consumed. It's the one-stop fixer elixir and never really a bad option to have on your team. It invalidates most of the other status curing berries besides Chesto, since you aren't too likely to need to heal from status more than once on the Pokemon you're using them on. Dragon Dance sweepers like Haxorus, Gyarados, Salamence, and Necrozma will start setting up while the opponent scrambles to send out their support Pokemon. You can set up through a Will-O-Wisp or Thunder Wave, have your status cured, and sweep unhindered. There's just less variance since you cover all status, and keeping a Lumberry handy can win you the game against a team that relies on status to shut down sweepers. And spot 26 is another herb, this time the mental one. Mental herb cures the holder of any of the following conditions when induced: Infatuation, Disable, Encore, Heal Block, Taunt, and Torment. It is consumed afterwards, but its effect is well worth it for the users. Support Pokemon are typically slow and like to use status moves, getting up hazards, using status inducing moves, setting Trick Room, even gaining stat boosts. These all can get shut down with moves like Taunt, Encore, and even Disable being disruptive. Mental Herb provides them a get out of jail free card, meaning your Araquanid and Shuckle can set up sticky webs, Amoonguss can use Spore, and Cresselia can set up Trick Room. It's just a good choice in general for Pokemon who are known to use strong supportive status moves, and for this reason it sees a decent amount of usage on plenty of Pokemon. Top 25 time. The items have been getting better and more common, and this continues with the Terrain Seeds. I'm grouping these all together, but essentially these will activate when the holder is in when the respective terrain is active. Electric terrain will activate the Electric Seed, which raises defense by 1 stage and then is consumed. Same goes for Grassy Seed and Grassy Terrain. Misty and Psychic Terrain will activate their respective seeds and raise special defense by 1 stage. These items are all about synergy. We've seen this song and dance before. It primarily helps on Burden Pokemon burn their item slot, but it does often perform better in these team styles over other consumables like Normal Gem and White Herb due to the immediate boost to user gains just for existing inside the terrains. You instantly get that boosted speed and power up acrobatics while having a useful defense boost to boot. That's an important aspect because not only does it help on Burden Pokemon, but also regular mons who could use the buff in bulk. Espafra, Farigiraf, and Espeon can use Grassy Seed to shore up their defense while boosting with Calm Mind. It further powers up stored power while denying knockoff's power boost. Overall, great items, popular in both singles and doubles, with a good variety of users to bring us into our top 25. Spot 24 sees our highest ranked herb, the Power Herb. This item will complete a holder's 2-turn move in 1 turn and then will be consumed. 2-turn moves are often very powerful, but unviable due to giving up a turn to charge them. With Power Herb, this isn't a problem, and many Pokemon take advantage of this. Most famously, Xerneas has abused this for years, being able to use its cracked signature move Geomancy to increase its speed and special stats by 2 stages each. This allows Xerneas to fire off a apocalyptic Moonblast that can threaten 2 shots on even the bulkiest mons. Meteor Beam users like Lamora, Lunala, Necrozma, and Terapagos boost their special attack by 1 stage and then fire off a 120 base power attack in the same turn. It was also another one of Hawlucha's Unburden tricks, being able to use the incredibly powerful Sky attack in 1 turn and then double its speed. Its usage has definitely been boosted and carried by the introduction of Meteor Beam in Gen 8, which gave new life to this otherwise only decent item, mostly associated with Xerneas. Spot 23 sees the Toxic Orb's hot brother, the Flame Orb. This item will burn the holder at the end of the turn. Since Generation 7's burn damage nerf, it has been the go-to item for Guts users. Guts will boost the user's physical attack by 50% and ignores burn halving physical damage. This makes it a no-brainer, as you essentially have a choice band boost and immunity from other status in exchange for your item slot and small chip damage at the end of each turn. It raises the viability of so many Pokemon, allowing normal type Guts users to hit with an extremely hard facade. And it's not only for those Guts users, it pairs well with Marble Scale Melodic, Quick Feet Jolteon, Flare Boost Drifblim. It can be a great trick item for shutting down physical attackers by inflicting them with a burn while stealing their item. Spot 22 is where I'm going to place the Weather Rocks. This includes the Damp, Heat, Icy, and Smooth rocks. When the holder sets a weather, the length is extended from 5 to 8 turns. These items are massive for weather teams, which themselves have been very influential competitively. These are items where the total number of common users may be lower than previous ones, but they are definitely crucial in their team's playstyle. Weather setting Pokemon only have to swap in to gain 8 whole turns of the preferred weather. This massively sets up their team for success. Swiss Swimmers, Chlorophyll, Slush, and Sand Rush mons get the double speed longer. You gain the power, accuracy, and stat buffs weather provides to your team. Just more time the battle leans in your favor. It also makes it more worthwhile to set weather with other Pokemon, since you aren't limiting your team to only a few turns in singles before you actually swap into a weather abuser. Right outside the top 20, in spot 21, are the Safety Goggles. Now this item would be way lower if only factoring singles, but its effect of blocking powder and spore moves along with weather chip is and has been excellent in doubles formats. Spore being a 100% accurate sleep inducing move used on one of the most common Pokemon, Amoonguss, means you would have to either sack him on to sleep or try to get it to aim towards a grass type, which is real risky. There are other common spore users like Smeargle, along with sleep powder users who need to be accounted for. Safety Goggles completely prevents them from affecting you with these moves, which tend to be their main reason of being on the field. The goggles also protect you from Effect Spore and Rage Powder redirection, giving them more utility. The Sandstorm and former Hail Chip immunity is a nice bonus too, but being able to block these sleep-inducing moves is the real reason it's up so high, as sleep is a death sentence in the faster-paced matches of 2v2. The top 20 has arrived. A lot of information to take in, I know. Just take a second to breathe, like the video, sub to the channel. We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. To those that skipped here, how dare you? These are items that define their users' roles or are just universally great ones to slap onto a Pokemon. I would say probably around 70 to 80% of overall item usage lies within these top 20. Spot number 20 goes to the item Light Clay. This will extend the duration of Light Screen, Reflect, and Aurora Veil from 5 to 8 turns. Screens are pretty common in competitive play as they halve the damage taken from attacks, allowing easier setup and sweeping opportunities. Some Pokemon will dedicate their role to setting up screens to support their teammates, with Pokemon like Alolan Ninetales, Grimmsnarl, and Klefki being great examples. This item has been massively propped up with the introduction of Aurora Veil, since it combines the effects of both screens into one move, only working while snow is active. Being able to come in, set snow, and half the damage your team takes from attacks for 8 turns is an insane advantage that pushes this item just over the previous few. In spot 19, I have all the type boosting items. This includes items like the Magnet, Mystic Water, Black Glasses, and Charcoal, along with the Arceus plates that do the same thing but aren't as fun flavor-wise. These all give a 20% power boost to any attacks of the typing they boost. So the Miracle Seed will give all grass type attacks that boost, for example. The pro of these items are a free 20% boost. No other requirements, no restrictions, no questions asked. It's great for Pokemon who enjoy running 2 or more moves of the same typing, usually priority users, and can bluff a choice item since the damage rolls can overlap. They aren't overwhelmingly good items, but a lot of them have common users, especially the better offensive typings. Their great effect and combined usage and reliability see them pretty high up on the list. Spot 18 is the leftovers adjacent Black Sludge. Black Sludge has 2 effects. If the holder is a poison type, it will restore 1/16 of their max HP at the end of each turn. If they aren't, it will cause the holder to lose 1/8 of their max HP each turn. On poison types, this is just a flat out better version of leftovers. It recovers you all the same, but if you are targeted by trick or any other methods of your opponent stealing your item, they will suffer the negative consequences. It isn't quite as common in Generation 9 because of terrestrialization, but in formats without the type changing gimmick, it's a great option on pretty much every poison type, and even the odd Magikarp Clefable as a cheeky trick tech. Into spot 17, we have the helium-filled air balloon. This item gives the holder an immunity to ground type effects along with entry hazards not named Stealth Rocked. If the holder is hit by any attacks, then the balloon will pop, acting like a consumed item. It's obviously heavily used by ground weak Pokemon to at least briefly mitigate the weakness and allow them to swap into predicted earthquakes. It can just be a game changer for some Pokemon, for example Golden Go swapping in against Great Tusk to block Rapid Spin. Tusk could predict this and destroy it with an earthquake, but the air balloon protects it from that. So you can either try to pop it with a weak coverage move like Ice Spinner and eat a powerful hit in return, or swap out and preserve, which means Golden Go has done its job. An overall widely popular item, more so in singles, as ground is tied for the most typings hit super effectively and is often run for coverage. Spot 16 sees the Gen 9 edition, the Covert Cloak. This protects the user from secondary effects of other Pokemon's attacks. It's essentially plopping the Shield Dust ability onto any Pokemon as an item. You block very common secondary effects from coming into play, including the guaranteed flinch from Fake Out, speed drop from Icy Wind, chip damage from Salt Cure, Scald Burns, you name it. It is a lot more popular in doubles due to how common relying on secondary effects for support can be. Having counterplay against that can really give you the advantage and shock your opponent. Into the top 15, I have another new one with the Clear Amulet. This is an item that prevents other Pokemon from lowering the holder's stats. This one's like plopping the ability Full Metal Body on the user. I went back and forth whether to put this or Covert Cloak higher, but I think the ability to block Intimidate in doubles makes this item just overall more consistent. Covert Cloak is probably the better long-term item, but for physical attackers, having immunity to being Intimidate spam makes this item worth its slot. It also will prevent a lot of the same things as Covert Cloak, like Icy Wind speed drops and any other stat lowering moves. These two are pretty interchangeable and mostly doubles items with only small amounts of usage in singles. From here on, I think are the clearly defined elite items. These are basically great choices in singles and doubles play and often define the playstyle of the holder. In spot 14 is the last of 3 consecutive Gen 9 introduced items with the Loaded Dice. This item guarantees the holder's multi-strike attacks to hit at least 4 times, while also giving the moves triple kick and triple axle only 1 accuracy check to hit all 3 times. It is another item that mimics an already great ability, with its effects being a budget version of Skill Link. It has boosted so many Pokemon who can now upgrade their attacking prowess with multi-strike moves that now reliably hit 100 base power or more per use. Plenty of scale shot users get off an incredibly powerful physical dragon attack that doesn't lock you in like Outrage and also boosts speed to give setup and damage in the same turn. Physical ice types don't have to rely on Icicle Crash's shaky accuracy or Ice Punch's low power. It can spam Icicle Spear and out-damage both of those. This is also true with Bullet Seed and Rock Blast users, as a generally better option compared to KOing yourself with Wood Hammer or missing Stone Edges. Since multi-strike attacks also have the advantage of breaking Focus Sash, Sturdy, and punishing substitute users, Loaded Dice is a great item to give you more options in those scenarios. In lucky spot 13, we pass the Loaded Dice and activate the Weakness Policy. This item will sharply raise the user's attack and special attack when hit by a super effective move. Weakness Policy is one of the most fun items to use and one of the scariest items to see activate against you. It may not be quite as universal of an item as some of the other top contenders, but it's one of the only items that can be seen as a win condition in of itself. A well-timed Weakness Policy can just allow you to sweep the game. This is usually seen on bulkier Pokemon who can bait and take a super effective attack while setting up a boost of their own on top of it. This usually includes a speed boost or having a priority attack to go with it. Multi-scale Dragonite, Latias, Tyranitar, Necrozma, Magearna, Metagross, Armarouge, and a bunch of others have interesting ways of abusing this item. It can also be activated by a teammate, which makes it a very dangerous and consistent item to run in doubles. Everyone remembers Weakness Policy Colossal, I'm sure. It goes great with Power Trip and Stored Power as well, adding layers of synergy on top of it. An overall great item that is medium risk, very high reward in my opinion. Spot 12 goes to a very basic item in the Citrus Berry. This will restore 25% of the holder's max HP when falling to 50% or lower. It isn't fancy, but has been an effective, tried and true item in singles and doubles since its buff in Generation 4. The main calling is activating earlier than the Pinch Berries, giving it far more opportunity to actually activate when it matters. You turn potential 2-hit KOs into 3 shots and 3 shots into 4 shots. This is extremely popular in doubles, as the burst HP is often way more important than small amounts you would get with lefties. If you don't know what item to throw onto your Mon, you can't really go wrong with a Citrus. While it definitely leans more into doubles territory, it does also have its fair share of use in singles. Belly Drum Sweepers sacrificing half their HP really rely on the Citrus Berry to bring them out of KO range, while oftentimes also activating Unburden. Harvest users also can wreak lower tier havoc with their substitute Leech Seed sets, which keep replenishing their Citrus Berries to become incredibly frustrating to play against. This can be argued as a top 10 item, but we have the most impactful and influential items coming up next. Right outside the top 10 might be a shocker for you. In spot 11, I have the Life Orb. This gives all the users' attacks a 1.3 times power boost while dealing 10% of their max HP and recoil per attack. This is the largest boost of any non-choice item, not being restricted by any conditions like boosting only one type or super effective hits only. It is consistent and large amounts of damage. You can slap it on pretty much any offensive mon, especially ones with sheer force and magic guard as abilities, since they don't take the recoil damage. It works great for mixed attackers as it doesn't discriminate what stat you're using. Life Orb is extremely popular in singles and doubles, and the pros almost always outweigh the cons. In previous generations this would have been higher, but recently the singles metas have become bulkier and more switch heavy. Hazards are less effective, which we'll get to soon, and Life Orb has lost a little bit of its touch. It's still great, but in a lot of matchups, the recoil of it just wears the user down. putting them on a timer that the opponent can take advantage of with smart switches and mons with reliable recovery. Now we reach the top 10. Almost at the finish line, buds. This is definitely the longest script I've written since my ranking every ability series, which you should check out after if you enjoyed this. Starting us off in spot 10 is the Focus Sash. The Focus Sash will allow the holder to live any hit that would have KO'd on 1 HP, provided they are at full HP. It is then consumed. This is an extremely important and popular item, especially on lead mons. A lot of these Pokemon have the rule of getting up an entry hazard and providing support in other ways. Being able to guarantee survival to do their job is a big reason why a lot of these Pokemon are even viable. It has many other uses. Shell Smash and other setup mon use it to gain that crucial turn of setup and attempt to sweep. An intact Focus Sash is a form of security against opposing sweepers, being able to survive a hit no matter how powerful and grab a retaliatory KO. This item does suffer a bit when dealing with entry hazards, which will often break your sash, rendering it ineffective, but its impact and game-changing potential can't be understated and gives us a strong start to this stacked top 10. In spot number 9, I have the Rocky Helmet. If the holder is hit by a contact move, the Pokemon making contact will receive chip damage of 1/6 of their max HP. Stonks for this item I feel have steadily been rising as the value of punishing pivoting and strong contact moves have increased. Equipping this on a bulky Pokemon can grab you an incredible amount of chip damage throughout a match that really adds up. You can actually gain value by swapping in and tanking hits, possibly putting offensive Pokemon in KO range, making U-turn spam teams think twice about their playstyle, and straight up just eliminate multi-strike users making contact. Rocky Helmet being such a great and common item is the reason why we even see items like the Punching Glove and Protective Pads being used. Combine it with Regenerator, Rough Skin, and mons with reliable recovery, and you're really doing a number to your opponent's physical attackers over time. It's also one of the few items that will still give you value when knocked off, as it will activate and do damage when hit. Spot 8 is our last Gen 9 introduced item with the Booster Energy. This will activate the abilities Photosynthesis and Quark Drive, which raise the user's highest stat by 30%, 50% if that stat is speed. It is a consumable one-time use item as well. It has 20 potential users, so I wouldn't call it a signature item. It is the main item on most of the Paradox Pokemon, with many of them being meta staples in singles and doubles. Booster Energy gives these mons the ability to shape their sets to further improve their strengths, often giving them sweeping potential upon entry. A 30% boost to an attacking stat without taking recoil you would with a Life Orb is great. It is also the only item that can immediately give you a 50% boost to speed without locking you into a single move. The flexibility this item gives to its users is great, and its only downside is that it's a one-time use. There are Pokemon like Roaring Moon that like that aspect, being able to use Terra Flying Acrobatics set, but if this item always activated these abilities, it might just be number 1. In spot number 7, I have the defensive item Assault Vest. This will give the holder a 1.5 times boost to their special defense stat, and in turn only allow the use of attacking moves. This is an incredible item, commonly used in singles and doubles. The effect is so good, it's even still seen on support Pokemon who would love to use status moves but forego it in favor of this boost. It can allow a mon with lower special defense to take some hits, and allow already specially tanky mons like Goodra and Primarina to take very little from those hits. It's especially great on regenerator pivots like Galarian Slowking, Tangrowth, and Alomomola, who just never seem to die. I can see arguments of Booster Energy being better, but the sheer number of Pokemon who can run viable Assault Vest sets and it's standing the test of time makes me feel it deserves this placement. In spot number 6, I have our first choice item with the Choice Specs. This boosts the user's special attack stat by 50%, but locks them into the first move they choose per switch. With such a powerful effect, this drawback is definitely needed, but it doesn't stop tons of Pokemon from using it since its Generation 4 debut. On powerful special attackers, this item changes the game for them. You can gain a lot more one-shots and two-shots, allowing you to late game sweep a weakened team with a strong stat move. There really isn't too much more to say about this straightforward item. Give big boost, lock you into move, great choice. Now we are into the top 5, the best of the best. I want to see your top 10 item lists in the comments after you're done watching. Let's see how yours stack up to mine and if there's any hot takes. Spot number 5, narrowly edging out the choice specs, we have the choice band. It was really close between these two. The choice band does the same thing, but raises the user's attack by 50% while locking them in. I have it slightly higher just due to the physical attacks being generally more powerful, reliable, and spammable. The generally higher power level will make the choice band boost come into play more often. Even in scenarios where you're clicking U-turn or flip turn, you are gaining a great deal more damage. Almost all priority moves are physical as well, which allow Pokemon like Scizor, Low Kicks, Crawdaunt, and extreme speed users to clean up weakened opponents that they are slower than. The choice band is just a great all-around item to slap onto a physical attacker and see a great amount of use. It can just overwhelm should-be swap-ins and is a staple in both singles and doubles. Spot number 4, you either heavily agree or disagree with me on. Here we see the item Eviolite. This increases the defense and special defense stat of the user by 50% each, but it requires the Pokemon to be able to evolve to work. While it is by far the best item in Little Cup, this item transcends the tier and allows so many not fully evolved Pokemon to become viable in singles tiers and doubles formats. A lot of times, it ends up with the pre-evolution straight out classing the evolution because of your insane bulk increase. This has been seen with Porygon 2, Dusknoir, Clefairy, Murkrow, Chansey, and more. It can set them apart from their evolution, make them threatening and lower tier as budget versions, and is generally just an absolute gem of an item to even the playing field against fully evolved Pokemon. It's definitely not an automatic item for every NFVmon, since you should have at least some semblance of bulk to make the Eviolite work, but the value it provides to its users might be more than any other item could. The drawbacks of needing these specific users and being a more detrimental item to be knocked off or tricked holds it out of the top 3. This also takes the spot of my favorite item if anyone was curious. And spot number 3 is our top choice item, the Choice Scarf. This will increase the user's speed stat by 50% and lock them into the first move they use per switch. Man, oh man, is this a useful item. A 50% boost on an invested speed stat will allow most Pokemon with a decent speed to outspeed most others. That was a tongue twister there. Going first is an incredible advantage to have in Pokemon. More hacks potential with secondary effects, the ability to take less attacks by KOing your opponent first, fast pivoting to get a favorable matchup, so many good things. Having that Choice Scarf in the back to come in as a revenge killer and force a sack or potentially endgame is crucial. You see a Scarf user on most singles teams, and it is a fairly common item to see in doubles, especially on spread move spammers. The fact that it is more universal, boosting speed, instead of a specific attacking stat, also gives it ranking points. Well, here we are, the top 2. What am I gonna do here? We have Heavy Duty Boots, the best item of today, versus Leftovers, the best item of all time. After mulling it over, I finally made my decision. In spot number 2, we're going with the Heavy Duty Boots. The boots are currently king in singles. They prevent any effects from entry hazards upon switching. This was an unreal meta-shaking addition in Generation 8. Everyone thought it would be a great item on those Pokemon who get murdered by Stealth Rocks, and they were right. But what they might not have thought was how even Pokemon who have no hazard weaknesses would be using it as a primary item. The boots are worn by pivoting Pokemon who get more benefit out of not taking entry hazard damage than gaining leftover recovery. They're worn by rapid spinners who resist rocks like Great Tusk, even just Pokemon who don't want to take the chip damage. It really has evolved team building. If you're getting hazard stacked and have no removal, who cares if you have free boost users? With Golden Go being the ultimate hazard removal denier, it just pushes this item further up the usage chart. Boots here, boots there. It's an item that doesn't even do anything otherwise. It can be useless in matchups your opponent isn't setting up any hazards and you're still content with your boots. But why is it number 2? Well, besides the reason I just mentioned, it isn't the greatest doubles item, with entry hazards being very rare and there not being too much switching for the damage to add up and be better than running something like a citrus berry for recovery. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very centralizing item and one of the best, but it isn't perfect. In spot number 1, the best of the best, we have leftovers. Most of you probably saw this one coming. This item restores a user's HP by 1/16 of their max at the end of each turn they're active. It is an item introduced in Generation 2 that was good then and has stood the test of time to this date. It's rarely ever a bad choice to put leftovers on a Pokemon. Residual recovery just for staying in. It really adds up over the span of a match. Like in a longer or stall matchup, you can easily get 200 to 300% leftovers recovery. It doesn't only restore HP, but can restore abilities, like getting you back to full HP for Sturdy and Multiscale. It is great paired with Substitute or Protect when stalling out your opponent. For a lot of Pokemon, leftovers is their only form of recovery without resorting to rest. Even with it being a slow burn type of item, it still sees plenty of doubles play, being the popular item on lots of Pokemon. It helps that you are gaining value out of clicking Protect, a move you are likely clicking a few times throughout a match anyways. After a few turns, it actually outpaces the Citrus Berry, making any recovery after icing on the cake. It is as close to a universally amazing item you can run, and it's not uncommon to see half of the Pokemon on a team running it. Whew, glad we got through that. I did all that in one go. Definitely need some pizza pops now. I hope you enjoyed this project of a video. Let me know your thoughts on items in Pokemon. Sorry if I missed any obscure items. I tried to triple check and see, but I'm sure something slipped through the cracks. Since you got this far, you might as well check out my ranking every ability videos. Shout out to all my supporters on YouTube and Patreon, including Goldbud, Mr. Frank Beans, Bucket Boys, Divi, Wario, Dude Prinny, and Xenolight. If you want to support the channel, allowing me to make more of these huge videos, consider supporting me with my links in the description. See you next time, buds.